The chalk moved across the blackboard with impossible precision. Symbols that shouldn't exist in a child's hand flowed like water, tensor notations, field equations, quantum operators dancing in perfect mathematical harmony. Dr. Sarah Chen stood frozen in the doorway of her home office, watching her 6-year-old daughter Maya cover the board with equations that had stumped the world's greatest physicists for nearly a century. "Maya, sweetie, what are you doing?" The little girl turned, her dark eyes holding a depth that made Sarah's breath catch. "I'm fixing the mistake, Mama. The one I made before I died." Those words, spoken with such casual certainty, would launch an investigation that would shake the foundations of physics, consciousness, and everything humanity thought it knew about the nature of reality itself. Maya Chen had been an ordinary child until the incident. Born on March 15, 2017, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, she had reached all her developmental milestones right on schedule. She loved Disney princesses, sang along to Frozen, and refused to eat vegetables like any typical toddler. Then came November 8, 2022, a routine tonsillectomy that should have been simple. But during the procedure, Maya's heart stopped for 4 minutes and 23 seconds. The surgical team performed CPR, administered epinephrine, shocked her tiny chest twice before her heart finally responded. Clinically, she was dead, Dr. Marcus Webb, the anesthesiologist, would later testify. No heartbeat, no brain activity on the monitors for over 4 minutes. When we brought her back, I honestly expected severe brain damage. But Maya woke up different. The first sign came 3 days after the surgery. Sarah found her daughter staring at the ceiling of her hospital room, moving her finger through the air as if tracing invisible patterns. "What are you doing, baby?" "Counting the vibrations, Mama. Everything vibrates. Even the space between things." Sarah had laughed it off as post-surgical confusion, but when they brought Maya home, the strangeness intensified. The girl stopped playing with her toys. She would sit for hours sketching intricate mathematical diagrams on any paper she could find, napkins, coloring books, the backs of grocery receipts, spirals within spirals, geometric patterns that seemed to fold into themselves, symbols that looked like a hybrid of mathematics and ancient hieroglyphics. "Where did you learn to draw like this?" Sarah asked one evening in December, finding Maya's bedroom floor covered in papers. The 6-year-old looked up with those unnervingly ancient eyes. "I didn't learn it, Mama. I remembered it. From before." "Before what?" "Before I was Maya." Dr. Sarah Chen was a theoretical physicist at MIT, specializing in quantum field theory. Her home office contained a large blackboard where she worked through complex equations, often late into the night. She had always been careful to keep Maya away from her work. The child had no business near such advanced mathematics. But on January 14, 2023, Sarah came home early from a conference and found Maya in her office. The blackboard, which Sarah had left covered with her own attempts to reconcile quantum mechanics with general relativity, had been completely erased. In its place was something that made Sarah's blood run cold. The entire board was filled with a unified field equation, the holy grail of physics that had eluded Einstein himself in his final years. But this wasn't a crude attempt or wishful thinking. This was rigorous, elegant, and included correction factors that addressed every single paradox that had stumped physicists for decades. "Maya, did you do this?" Her daughter nodded calmly. "You made a mistake in the 3rd term. The coupling constant needs to account for quantum foam fluctuations. I missed that in my original work, and it's why the equation never closed properly." Sarah felt the room spin. "Your original work?" "When I was Albert, before." The name hung in the air like a physical presence. Sarah wanted to laugh, to dismiss this as a child's fantasy, but the equation on the board was real. It was correct. She could see it with her trained eye. This wasn't random scribbling. This was genius-level theoretical physics. "Maya, I need you to explain something to me. How do you know these symbols? You've never studied mathematics." The girl walked to the board and pointed to a specific tensor notation. "This represents the curvature of space-time when quantum uncertainty is factored in. The problem with my original field equations was that I tried to eliminate uncertainty. to make the universe deterministic. But I was wrong. Uncertainty isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. It's how consciousness interacts with matter. Sarah grabbed her phone and took 17 photos of the blackboard from different angles. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the device steady. "Maya, baby, I need you to promise me something. Don't erase this. Don't touch this board. Can you promise me that?" "Okay, Mama. But there's more. The equation is just the beginning. I hid my final papers before I died, real papers with full proofs. I need to show people where they are." "Where what are?" "The Princeton papers. The ones I burned, except I didn't really burn them all. I hid 3 notebooks in the walls of my old office. They're still there, Mama, and they prove everything." Dr. Sarah Chen didn't sleep that night. Instead, she contacted 5 colleagues, the most brilliant minds she knew in theoretical physics. She sent them the photographs of her daughter Maya's blackboard equation. By 3 a.m., her phone was ringing off the hook. Dr. James Morrison from Stanford called first. His voice was frantic, breathless. "Sarah, where did you get this equation? Who wrote this?" Sarah hesitated, the truth feeling impossible even to her. It's complicated." "Complicated," he almost shouted. "Sarah, this solves the cosmological constant problem. It reconciles quantum entanglement with relativistic causality. This is, my God, this is a Nobel Prize, multiple Nobel Prizes. Who is your source?" Sarah took a deep, shaky breath, her own scientific mind rebelling against the words she was about to say. "My 6-year-old daughter." There was complete silence on the line. After a long moment, Morrison's voice returned, strained with disbelief. "I'm sorry, what?" Over the next 48 hours, an emergency summit of sorts began to form. 3 of the world's leading theoretical physicists made urgent trips to Cambridge. There was Dr. Morrison from Stanford, the fiery genius who had called first. Then Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Tokyo University, a man known for his meticulous and conservative approach. And finally, Dr. Rajesh Patel from Cambridge University itself, a long-time rival and friend of Sarah's. They all converged on Sarah's quiet suburban home, their minds buzzing with a problem far stranger than any black hole. They found Maya in her bedroom, not solving the mysteries of the universe, but coloring a picture of a cat with a bright purple crayon. She looked up as the 3 distinguished scientists peered into her room, her expression one of mild, childish interest. "Hello," she said simply. "Mama said you wanted to talk about the equation." Dr. Morrison, a man used to commanding lecture halls, crouched down to her eye level, his voice suddenly gentle and soft. "Hi, Maya. I'm Dr. Morrison. Your mommy showed me something you drew. It was very impressive. Can you tell me about it?" Maya put down her crayon and looked him straight in the eye. "I didn't draw it, I remembered it. It's the unified field equation, the one I couldn't finish before." Dr. Patel knelt beside Morrison, his curiosity piqued. "Before when, sweetie?" "Before I was Albert," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "When I was old, and my heart was sick." The 3 scientists exchanged uneasy glances. This was far stranger than they had imagined. Dr. Tanaka, turning to Dr. Patel, spoke quickly in Japanese, assuming the child wouldn't understand. "This is obviously a hoax. Someone is coaching her. The mother, perhaps." Without missing a beat, Maya responded in flawless, unaccented Japanese. "I'm not being coached, and I speak Japanese because I lectured at your university in 1922. The cherry blossoms were blooming. You have a statue of me in the East Garden." Dr. Tanaka went pale, stumbling back a step. It was true. There was indeed a statue of Albert Einstein at Tokyo University, placed in the East Garden in 1922 to commemorate his famous visit to Japan. How do you know that?" he stammered. "Because I remember standing next to it," Maya said calmly. "Your great-grandfather took the photograph. His name was Tanaka Hiroshi. He had a camera with a small crack in the left lens." With trembling hands, Dr. Tanaka pulled out his smartphone. He frantically searched through his family's digital archives, his heart pounding in his chest. A few moments later, he found it. The grainy, historical photograph from 1922, Albert Einstein standing proudly next to the newly unveiled statue. And there, just visible in the corner of the frame, was the photographer, his great-grandfather, Tanaka Hiroshi. Historical records, buried deep in obscure family letters that had never been digitized or published, confirmed the detail about the cracked camera lens. It was a piece of information no one outside his immediate family could possibly know. "This is impossible," Dr. Patel whispered, his voice barely audible. Maya just shrugged, a small 6-year-old gesture that seemed to carry the weight of a century. "Is it? You study quantum mechanics. You know that observation creates reality. What if consciousness doesn't end with death? What if it's just another quantum state waiting to be observed again?" The atmosphere in the room had shifted from skepticism to awe, and then to a profound, unnerving fear of the unknown. For the next 6 hours, the 3 physicists, titans in their field, sat at the feet of a 6-year-old girl and questioned her. They didn't ask her about cartoons or her favorite color. They asked her to derive equations, to explain the most complex theoretical concepts known to science, to describe historical events from Einstein's life with verifiable detail. And she answered every single question correctly. She derived the photoelectric effect from first principles on a whiteboard Sarah brought into the room. She explained the EPR paradox and why, as Einstein, it had troubled her so deeply, calling it spooky action at a distance. She described the interior of the patent office in Bern, Switzerland in 1905, including the exact position of her desk relative to the window and the name of her supervisor, Friedrich Haller. She drew a perfect, detailed schematic of the apparatus used in the Michelson-Morley experiment, a foundational test that had paved the way for her own theories. The scientists were speechless, their entire understanding of the world fracturing with every correct answer she gave. Finally, after hours of interrogation, Maya seemed to grow tired. She looked from one stunned face to the next, and then she said something that would change not just physics but everything. "I need to go to Princeton," she stated, her tone shifting from that of a child to one of firm, scientific purpose. "My final notebooks are hidden there, in the walls of 112 Mercer Street, the room on the second floor, northeast corner, hidden behind the bookshelf." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "I put them there 3 days before I died, because I knew they were too dangerous for the world at that time. The equations in those notebooks, they don't just unify physics. They explain consciousness, they explain free will, they explain the very mechanism of reincarnation itself."